Hello everybody, how you doing today? Hope you're having a good day. A little chilly here this morning, but it'll warm up during the day, and I mean we just have to make the best with the weather that we have, and hopefully we're prepared and have the right kind of clothing on. As you can see, I'm bundled up pretty good right now. But I guess if I kept the door closed, I let the door open so the dog can sit out there in the sun. But anyway, let's get into our lesson today. The title of the lesson is "The Walls Came Tumbling Down." And yeah, some of you might recognize that from the song that we sing. The song, "The Walls Came Tumbling Down." And it's an interesting song. All right, but sometimes it becomes necessary for walls to come down. And in this study, we're going to notice several biblical instances where the walls came down, and we hope to accomplish several points in this lesson. First of all, the necessity of the walls coming down, and also the appearance or of the impossibility of it even happening. And then, of course, the application of the lesson in our personal lives. That's what we really need to focus. Every time we study God's Word, we've got to see where the application is for me, for us, and what it means for us. Because if you just read a story like you read about Moses in the basket being found by Pharaoh's daughter, I mean, that's one thing. But is there an application for us? I mean, that's what we need to search for. We need to look for those things in our Bible studies and our Bible lessons and figure out, is this something that will benefit me if I put it into application? So let's consider those things. And really, that should be the point of just about every lesson we provide, is the application of the lesson in our personal lives. Now let's talk about some of these places where the walls came down from the Bible. See, our first appearance of walls coming down is found in the book of Joshua. You know, as the children of Israel entered the promised land, they came upon a well-fortified city. And Jericho was a mighty city with huge walls. And as the children of Israel approached, the inhabitants of the city prepared to defend it. I mean, they'd heard about these Israelites coming, and they saw them coming. And so you can imagine their perplexity when the Israelites marched around one time and left. Now, they did this for 6 days, and by that 6th day, you can imagine this process was probably getting on the annoying side more than anything else. But then we also read on the 7th day, the people marched around 7 times, and then when they had completed their journey 7 times, they blew the horns and everyone shouted, and the walls came down. So that's the thing. The people of Jericho knew that there was absolutely no way that anyone could climb the walls and overcome them. I mean, they were prepared. I mean, they were protected. And we see that the confidence of the people was in the walls. And they didn't put their confidence in God or anything else. Their confidence was in the walls, and that was their downfall. That was the result of their destruction when the walls fell down. Another one, our second appearance of wall coming down is Nineveh. You know, the second appearance happens many years later in the land of Assyria. The great city of Nineveh was a marvel of the world, and its engineering would astound anyone who studied it, as well as anyone who physically saw it. I mean, you can go and look it up in the history books. You can read about it in different places. And it was just a marvel. It was actually a series of 3 walls. I mean, and between the walls, people had their homes, they had their pasture land, they had other things like that. So this thing was really quite expansive. I mean, so very large. And so, and that there was a great wall, several walls around it. Of course, they had their watchtowers over it. And the walls were actually wide enough that they say a chariot pulled by 4 horses could make an easy turnaround without any problem. And so they was quite large. And so the people, they had reason to believe that they were safe. And so anyway, the city was in a period of prosperity and greatness. And then a prophet of God said that in a few short years, in a very short campaign, the walls would be breached and the city destroyed. I mean, just very quickly. And so Nahum the prophet was laughed at for making such predictions. But what happened? I mean, he proved himself to be a prophet of God because what he said came to pass. And so it was done that way. So when we read the details about how Nineveh was destroyed, we find out that people used nature. The enemy, the Chaldeans, used nature to do this. What they did, they dammed up a river many miles before, away from it, and then all of a sudden they took out the dam, and all that water rushed down and basically broke down the city walls with that great deluge, that flood. And so once again we see the people put their trust in the walls to protect them, and they were not prepared when the walls were destroyed. Another city, the Chaldean city of Babylon. See, our instance here we want to mention is the destruction of the great city of Babylon. You know, there's probably never been a city so well built, protected, maintained, and admired in all of human history. I mean, they had a wall that was so large that it just boggles the mind to comprehend it. Now imagine this. Imagine a 20-story building that wrapped continuously around a city the size of Houston, Texas. I mean, straight up walls. I mean, that's what they were. They were straight up walls, and so you would need like a 300-foot ladder just to get up to breach the wall. And of course, by the time you got halfway there, the archers would probably have you shot down, or they'd be pouring hot molten lead on you or something like that. And so, yeah, or throwing big rocks at you. I mean, that would be huge. I mean, we're talking about 15 to 20 miles in diameter, and this wall's around there. And this wall was very large, and even along this wall were watchtowers, which rose another 100 to 200 feet. And so it is no wonder that Nebuchadnezzar was filled with pride when he looked at what he had done. You know, we have this story recorded in Daniel chapter 4. And so, once again, the walls were the downfall of the people. They had so much security and trust in those walls that they only put a handful of guards to keep watch. And the rest of the people enjoyed their festivals. You know, they had a different one every week. And in one particular festival, it lasted 7 days. And so in this feast, the king looked up and saw a hand writing on the wall. And after much perplexity, the queen finally came in and said, well, there is someone who can interpret dreams and signs like this. And so they brought Daniel in. And Daniel explained, well, king, your kingdom is destroyed. Babylon is over. And you're going to die because of that. You've been tried and found wanting. So Daniel records that in that very moment Daniel was speaking, the Medes were entering the city. And how did they come in? Not over the wall. They came under the wall. See, a city that size needed a source of water, so they built a little, kind of like a gate underneath the wall so that the water could come in. Well, the Medes had blocked up the water source, and now they came across. The enemy came in under the wall without having to drown, and the guards were quickly captured, and it's reported that in that whole conquest, the king was the only casualty. See, the Medes were not interested in the upkeep of the city and just let it go into ruins. And as time went along, the walls were broken and torn down, never to be built again. And really, that was done by Alexander the Great several hundred years later. But the city was in ruins. Alexander the Great came and said, it's going to take too much to get this place fixed up. Just tear it all down. And that's what they did. And it was never built up again. Of course, that's part of the various prophecies of different prophets. Speaking of this, Isaiah specifically talking about the destruction of Babylon, never to be built or inhabited. It would only be inhabited by jackals and other critters, other animals. But maybe occasionally a shepherd would come along and pitch his tent there so his flock could feed, but there would be no permanent establishment of that building, of that city again. Now, before Babylon goes down, of course, Jerusalem went down. And so we want to study that for a moment. See, we read of the book in the book of Jeremiah of the terrible conditions of Jerusalem when Nebuchadnezzar surrounded the city and cut off the supply lines. And once again, we see that the people had too much pride to see a real danger existed. I mean, it was out there, but they thought they were secure. We didn't have to worry about that. But they found out very quickly that they were in a lot of trouble. And so they also thought they were beyond defeat because, well, they were God's chosen people. And so their pride kept them from doing anything about it. And of course, their pride kept them from turning back and asking God for assistance. Because even Jeremiah said, if you'll turn to God, he will sit here and protect you. But they didn't do it. So they thought they were beyond defeat because, their wall is going to protect them. That is until Nebuchadnezzar built a siege wall. And after 2 years of building up that wall, the troops from Babylon came rushing down into the city over the wall. So the problem with these people is they did not consider God would turn against them as he promised that he would. All right. Now, the next wall under consideration that we read about in the New Testament. It's called the dividing wall. And we read about this in Ephesians 2:11 through 16. And there was a division between the Jews and the Gentiles. And they all knew it. And they were kind of proud. The Jews were kind of proud of it that they excluded Gentiles from their fellowship, from any dealings with them. And the Gentiles, they just were kind of considering the Jews to be arrogant. So there was a wall there that they had constructed. And so this was not a physical wall, but a spiritual one. And so meeting the objective of our lesson goals, we'll see the necessity of this wall coming down and see who was responsible for it happening. So like I said, when you read in Ephesians 2:11 through 16, we find out that Jesus broke down the barrier wall of division. He broke down the enmity that was between the two, so that not only Jews but Gentiles could also be saved and become Christians when they obeyed the gospel. So Jesus broke down that dividing wall between the Jews and the Gentiles, and that was necessary for it to happen. Now, there's other walls that we want to discuss, personal walls. A wall is put up to keep out those who are not welcome and to protect and keep those who are invited in. And we all have confidence in our own dwelling places. I mean, we feel a sense of security there. When someone is robbed, their life seems to be shattered because they feel violated in some way. Some people, after they've been robbed, they can't live there anymore. They have to move away. So what is to be a place of safety where you relax your guard and rest from your labors can become a place of insecurity. If someone invades or breaches the confines of your wall, and so, this can also include your close relationships. If your security is breached, you feel violated and will lack trust in that relationship. And this includes our church family as well, if something happens by them. But the last wall we want to talk about is your wall. Now, I don't have a wall, you might say. Everybody has walls. See, the last wall that needs to come down is the one that you have built up between you and your God. If you think that building a wall will keep him from seeing you, you're wrong. If you think that building a wall will keep him out, you're wrong there as well. And if you think that a wall will protect you in Judgment Day, folks, you're going to be lost and you're going to pay the consequences of that. See, many people have built their own wall to purposely keep God out of their lives. And folks, that wall will not protect them on Judgment Day. So realize this: you have control over your wall, your personal wall, and you decide who comes within your wall, and really you decide who is not worthy to come into your wall. And what one must consider is this: is the person within my wall helping me get to heaven? I mean, if you have people who are trying to help you get to heaven, they're the ones you want around. And they're the ones you want to spend time with, and you invite them into your abode, and you get to know them, and you have a relationship that's very strong, like all Christians are supposed to have this kind of relationship. Now, sadly, some people, they don't want to deal with Christians. They don't want to deal with other people. And so they have their walls that they have built up. And so if this person is toxic, it might cause me to lose my soul. That's really not someone I need to have within my walls. Sometimes we can't help it. I mean, when it comes to family relationships, sometimes a family member might be very toxic, but yet we really don't want to kick them out. I mean, we want to give them an opportunity. And that's where we really feel. So what we do is we place our trust, in most cases, turns out to be our downfall. Where we place our trust usually can become our downfall. Unless you're trusting in the Lord, as the Bible teaches, if you don't trust in the Lord, then, I mean, that's it. You know, Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And so we need to place our trust, in most cases, where we do, is our downfall. And so we talked about these various cities, and the religions that were mentioned relied upon these walls and not upon God for their protection and security. All right, now the question for you: are you willing for your walls to come tumbling down? I mean, if you want to go to heaven, it is necessary. See, unlike the seeming impossibility of it happening, just like some of those cities, I mean, there's no way we can do this. But with God's help, it happened. And so you might think it's impossible. But really, nothing's impossible with God, that we're taught that. So it can happen if you choose for it to happen. So we're going to ask you, tear down your wall that you've separated you from God, and confess Jesus as Lord and obey the gospel. As you learn and grow in the faith, you will work to become obedient to his commands, and then your soul will be protected by his wall surrounding you. He is our shield, he is our protector, and he is described in the Psalms in so many different ways. He is our fortress. And so we get within him, and we will be safe. We will be protected. And all those that are with us, as long as we're all in the same boat with a relationship with God, then we're all going to be safe. So consider the walls that have been in the past and are here today, and see about tearing the ones that need to come down, and then resting upon the wall that God has given us. Think about these things. That's our lesson. So you have a good day, and do something for God, and look to see if you can start chipping away at your own personal walls to invite others in so that you can teach them to put their trust in God. Consider these things, and Lord willing, we'll be back again with another lesson. Bye-bye for now.